Hey everybody, before we get into today's show, I do want to do a quick announcement on our Night of Conflict event, which is returning this October 19th in Waterloo, Iowa at the 5 Sullivan Brothers Convention Center. The first whistle is going to blow at 6:30 on the 19th. We got quite a few matches, I think 9 matches announced right now, including the state's top uncommitted senior in the class of 2020, Jack Thompson, who's taken on talented sophomore Nick Hamilton of Underwood. There's a lot of Western Iowa flavor in our Night of Conflict event. We also got, quite a few up-and-coming sophomores, some guys that are going to be making a name for themselves here really, really soon. So this event will be running alongside Iron Elite Fall Nationals, which is taking place on the 19th and 20th in the same location. If you want more details, head to iawrestle.com. You can find our information regarding the Night of Conflict, where to buy tickets, how to get mat side seats. There's 40 VIP tickets available. Comes with a hat, so just reach out to iawrestlecontact@gmail.com if you're interested in some VIP seating. If not, the event is on Eventbrite. If you want it, that's where we've gone through all of our events. Night of Conflict, War at West Gym, so you should be pretty familiar if you've been to one of our events. Check it out. Night of Conflict returning October 19th. Today's guest is a very special friend of IA Wrestle, a Jon Reader, the associate head coach of the University of Wisconsin. John's been a big supporter of IA Wrestle. I mean, from the beginning, he's a great guy to talk to. He's got a lot of energy. That's why everybody loves Jon. He grew up in Michigan, wrestled for Iowa State, coached a little bit at Iowa State before heading to South Dakota State with Chris Bono. And then in the last year or so, 18 months, he was able to take on a role at the University of Wisconsin with Chris Bono. So really excited to talk to Jon. Hope you guys enjoy the show.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous Podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show.
So we got Mr. Jonathan Reader on the podcast today.
There we go.
All
there
right.
we go.
You're the associate head coach of the University of Wisconsin now. Most people know your connection to the state of Iowa, but we'll go ahead and do a little bit of a background on you. So you come from Davison High School in Michigan, pretty well-regarded program, but what brought you to the state of Iowa in the first place?
You know what? So I got recruited out of high school by Kale and Coach Douglas, who was a legendary coach at Iowa State, and I grew up, following the program a little bit from afar, just through the Win magazine, USA Wrestling, all that. And Iowa State was a big draw, and Cale Sanderson obviously was one of the hottest names in wrestling. And I was honored when they reached out, and I took a visit, and I really saw myself winning a national title there, and saw myself being the best version of myself, and I took it.
And then Kale left toward the end of your career, right? It was just like a year or two left, or what was that timing like?
Yeah, so Kale left. Kale left starting my junior year. So I had 2 years with Coach Jackson and his staff.
You've been on both ends of the spectrums, where you've been a college athlete, seeing your head coach go to a different program, and you've kind of been, on a coaching staff that's kind of transitioned to a new one. So back then, as an athlete, what was that like for you to see your coach kind of move to a different program?
You know what? I would never fault my coach for bettering his family and taking an opportunity, and all you can ask for in life is an opportunity, right? And I would never fault Coach Sanderson for that, and I'm still very close with Coach Sanderson, his family, and all those guys. Those guys were my coaches when they were at Iowa State. So, as an athlete, it's not the most ideal situation, because you got to get change to a new program. But I'm the type of guy who I think change is great. Change is a good thing. You know what? And when change happens, you got to evolve. You got to become a better version of yourself, and it challenges you to up your game. So some guys don't like that change, and I've always been a big fan of that.
Well, I mean, obviously you you still were able to reach your goal. You wanted to be a national champion at Iowa State. So even with that turnover, you were able to achieve your goal. And that was your first connection with Bono too, right? He was an assistant coach toward the end of your career there.
Yes, sir. Yep. Yes, sir. So Coach Bono came in as one of the assistant coaches. He was the head assistant coach with Coach Jackson my junior year. And, right from the second, so kind of to go back even further, Coach Bono was part of Bobby's staff when I was a senior in high school. So he was also recruiting me out of high school. So I got to know him a little bit then, and I really liked him then. And then fast forward to my junior year, and here he comes again, and he joins Coach Jackson's staff as the head assistant. And, right from the get-go, he couldn't be more. He's family to me in every which way, So as an athlete, we were very, very close. And as soon as I graduated, it just never stopped. And even when I was at the Olympic Training Center and he was at Tennessee Chattanooga, that relationship never changed. We were very close and stayed close even from afar. And then when he had an opportunity and I was starting to near the end of my international career, he said, listen, come out here, take a chance and just see the program. And he was at South Dakota State at the time. And I said, you know what, I'm going to take a visit to South Dakota State just because I love you and I respect you. And honestly, I didn't have any intentions of taking the job. And I got out there and, I ended up loving what the vision was and, being around somebody that was like-minded and had, extremely high goals and wanted to challenge himself in every aspect of his life and, be the best version and give these kids, an opportunity. That I was on board. So fast forward and now we're in Madison.
So that connection was just instant between you two, like that.
Yeah, it's hard to describe because it was, we're so much alike in every which way. I mean, I could call him at 1 a.m. and we go work out. That's how it was when I was an athlete. Whatever it took to get me to be the best version of myself, he was 100% willing to be right next to me the whole way, and that's how he is as a coach. And it's not a gimmick. That's the real thing. That's who he is. And that's why he's so successful as a coach. And it's why I've been loyal to the max with him.
You were volunteer coach on the Iowa State staff before heading out to Brookings?
Yeah. So I graduated in 2011, right after my senior year. And I ended up spending a season and a half, 2 seasons there at Iowa State as the volunteer. Very, very fortunate to, jump in at my alma mater and get my feet wet in the coaching, world, and got to mentor a couple guys and had a great experience as a volunteer assistant.
So was there any trepidation or anything like that when you're at Iowa State, you're training, you said it yourself, the reason that drew you to Iowa State out of high school was its history. So, you're at Iowa State, you're training with Coach Jackson, and you're on the staff, so you're making your way into the coaching world too. I mean, was there anything that was, you jumped to South Dakota State, a program that Bono's building from scratch. I mean, was there any sort of a little bit of nervous energy going there?
I don't think there was, just because I knew and I believe in the guy. And I knew that if we together put our heads down and worked as hard as we possibly could, and really, really hustled and made up for, it being a smaller school, it didn't matter because at the end of our career, end of our 5 or 6 years there, we were getting number 1, number 2, number 3 recruits in the country just by hustling, and being in Madison now, the amount of resources we have compared to where we were, it's not even relatable. So I truly believed in his vision and I knew that we were going to work our tails off to get there. And I think I was more excited than nervous.
So at South Dakota State, I think it's pretty obvious. Your resume speaks for itself, I should say. You guys produced, was it the first All-American in program history there? Was that right? And then the first national champ?
It was the first All-American in the Division I era.
Division I.
So they were a great program in the Division II era. And they did a great job. They had, they were always in the top 5 in the Division II. I don't know the exact stats offhand, but Division I, we had the first All-American and ended up being the first national champion, Seth Gross. And taking a program from being 77th in the NCAA to being 12th to the NCAA our last year there was something special.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going. Like, you guys built this program, and you built it for long run success too, I think, because I big fan of that staff that's out there now. You guys are the reason we took notice of South Dakota State in the first place, and now that Damian Hahn and one of our Iowa boys, Cody Caldwell, is out there. You guys actually brought him on in the first place, but so we're still kind of very aware of that program, and it's nice to see that it wasn't just, you guys didn't just build a program, and then when you did take a different opportunity, it wasn't that the program kind of, it was back to falling apart, because it wasn't just led by you guys. It was, you really built something, a culture, you built up that fan base. So that was something we really like to see, what you guys were able to do at South Dakota State.
Yeah, absolutely. And, all of our guys, that's what we preached, and I'm sure you've seen it a million times. We preach hustle, effort, and attitude. And, when we were there, we truly got guys that believe in being committed to doing the right things in every aspect of your life, even right down to the way you treat people. And we had hard-nosed guys, just gritty guys. And, we were very fortunate for our time there. Chris
obviously gets the opportunity to go to Madison and get the head coaching job. Obviously, you guys are really close, but I think you said at one point in time, South Dakota State had to approach you for the head job, right?
Yeah. I got offered the job there. Yep.
So, can you talk us through that time? You're obviously got your good friend and your mentor heading to Madison, and you got an opportunity in front of you to be a head coach. What was going through your mind to, maybe stay at what you built, or take a different path and do something else?
Yeah. So when Coach got the offer, I was in. It wasn't hard, to be honest with you. I was going regardless, because he is my best friend, and we've done this together, and I think we've got a great package together. When we are there together, I think that the energy and the excitement we bring around a program is unmatchable. When they approached me at South Dakota State, I was very fortunate for the opportunity, and the last 5 years I spent there, I learned a lot, and their administration was very, very. They were great. Everything about the program was great for us, and the administration, like I said, was amazing. But it was an opportunity for me to continue to grow, and all you can ask for in life is an opportunity, and to have the resources we have here is unbelievable.
I imagine, though, someday it's probably, is it a dream of yours to be a head coach, or
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yep, no doubt about it.
Do you have a trajectory in mind, I guess, then, where I'm going to go with that?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. I love what I'm doing right now, and I love Madison, and I have no plans of going anywhere. I think that this is one heck of a place to be, and I'm not sure if you've ever been to Madison, but it's an unbelievable place. The school speaks for itself, and it's a special place. And as you can see in the last couple months, the things that we're starting to do in this program have never been done, and it's starting to put the country on notice, and we're really excited. But I have no idea. As far as the timeline, I have no idea, and you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I just know that I'm going to put my head down and keep continuing to work hard and give my best effort and go from there.
Let's talk a little bit about heading to Madison. So obviously you and Bono are really excited to get in there, get your hands on this program, but you're coming into a roster that they're not your guys. You didn't recruit them to be there. So what was it like walking in day one to that wrestling room? Did you have to win people over, or what was that experience like?
You know what? It was I'm not going to say the last 12 months, or actually the first 8 to 10 months of us being here were hard, no doubt about it. I think that any culture change, anytime you get guys that are ingrained in a certain way, and then you bring another type of culture in, there's going to be friction, right? So the guys that could not, or just were recruited on different expectations, we helped them find a different place, but our coaching staff and the previous coaching staff could not be any more different, and in every which way. So a lot of the recruits didn't see the vision that we have for this program, and they left on their own terms, and we said, you know what, we'll help you find wherever you got to go, blah, blah, blah. But, fast forward, the guys that are in this room right now, they are so energized and fired up for the opportunity. And it's unbelievable. We were just talking about it last week when one of our practices. It's crazy where we're at right now. We're ready to go.
How did you approach the athletes then? Like, what's kind of the broad level conversation you're having to win them over to see if they're your fit?
Well, I just think that trust, trust is the biggest thing in any relationship, right? They've got to be able to trust you, and the second they trust you, they're going to give you their heart. So I think just continuing to be consistent and every day and making sure that, when we're pounding that culture into them, it's the right things, and you're caring for them. It's not just, a robotic thing. It's you're genuine about what you're doing. And I think that's why, people, once you're around us, they truly believe in that vision. And you got to be genuine. You got to earn their trust. And it took a little bit of time, but we're fired up for where we're at.
So you come from South Dakota State, who I think a lot of people know that the administration is behind South Dakota State, so there's a lot of support for the program. Obviously, you guys were the ones that built the fan base. You're getting them energized and pumped up. So it's not like you came from a program that it had its difficulties, but you guys built something really good. But you go into Wisconsin, where it's a bigger. You're playing in a bigger pool, maybe is a way to put it. Everyone knows the Big Ten's pretty tough, sends the most NCAA qualifiers. So when you come from South Dakota State and you go to Wisconsin, were there any things like immediate changes you saw that maybe you got to do something a little bit different as a coach?
I just think that, I think the immediate thing was the how big this program really is, in the sense of, the University of Wisconsin, you can recruit countrywide. You have your foot in every single door, and I think that one great thing about what Coach Bono and I have done in the recruiting efforts is the amount of hustle we've had. It goes countrywide now with this Motion W. I think that everything is on a larger scale here. But we were excited about the opportunity to come to a program like this with the resources. Now we're playing with the big boys. We're at the dinner table now, not at the kids' table. We're fired up.
That's for sure. I think Flow Wrestling, which I don't know what your thought on rankings are, but it looks like they put you as the preseason top 5. So that's obviously, that's a pretty good benefit, or not a benefit. It's a good indicator of where you guys are leading the program, right? It definitely wasn't a top 5 program when you guys were brought in. That's why you guys were hired, right?
Yeah. Rankings are rankings. We don't put anything into that. It's just, that's their reflection, and it does reflect a little bit about what they see the program's doing. But we got to go out there and wrestle. Yeah, absolutely. It's rewarding to see people starting to recognize the program. Yeah.
And then one of the first things you guys did as a staff, obviously between managing with the current roster, but you also brought in Matt McDonough, who was from the Hawkeye Wrestling Club at the time. So how did you guys convince him to come into the program, and what was the reasoning for picking Matt?
Well, you know what? I think we tried to get Matt at South Dakota State, and it wasn't the right time in his personal career. I think he was still competing at the time. And, when we got to Madison, we had that position open, and we were like, let's go try and get Matt again. And we reached out to Matt and said, hey, why don't you take the opportunity, just come down and see Madison. You're going to love this place. And he got down here and he fell in love with it, and his family loved it. And, the rest has been history. He's done a heck of a job for us. He's a great role model for these guys, and we're excited for the future, and he's doing one heck of a job.
And then overall, you kind of talked about it where since going to Wisconsin, one of the things you guys have really been able to change is you're talking about the recruiting, your foot's in the door. But then another thing that's kind of more recent is the NCAA changing the rules on how, now you can start doing official visits with the junior class, however you want to call it. Right now it's the class of 2021. And, there's just little bit more contact that's being opened up for you guys. So what do you think about these in addition to what you've been able to do at Wisconsin, but these NCAA changes that, how is that impacting your job, and what do you see in that?
You know what? You're recruiting two different classes now. You're starting to see juniors August 1, and I love it. I absolutely love it because it's a little bit more hustle, and that's what we're willing to do. And we've done a great job of making sure that we're covering both classes, and it's just a little bit more time consuming, but hey, that's the name of the game. That's the rules that are in it, and you play by the rules, and you maximize your resources. And one great thing about what we have is when we get them on campus, man, this place is special. And our administration support, they're heavily involved when we get them on campus. We got them in front of Barry Alvarez and Chris McIntosh, some of the biggest names in college athletics, and it's special. You get them on campus. I think this is a place they don't want to ever leave.
I mean, it probably helps having a blue blood, nationally rated football team that you can take them into Camp Randall, and they get to experience that atmosphere when they're on campus. That probably helps a little bit too, right?
No doubt about it. I mean, last week we had some recruits on campus, and you got Chris McIntosh he was #1 draft pick in the NFL, and he's our associate athletic director, and he's sitting there telling war stories from when he was in college. It's a great environment. People that have been at a very high level, and our administration support here is unbelievable, all the way from Barry Alvarez at the top down to Doug Teat, our supervisor who overlooks wrestling, and Chris McIntosh, and it's unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Couldn't ask for anything more.
I think it's very apparent. Proof's in the pudding. You talk about that weekend you just had, and I don't know what you can all talk about, but I know from what we've been able to see in the last week since you've had that, I mean, it hasn't even been a week. It's been 4 days since the recruits were on campus. And I think we've seen 3 names, all of them, between class of 2020 and 2021 have, verbaled to your program. So I think it's very apparent that once you guys get them on campus, you're obviously doing something right to win these guys over.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think we're showing them a vision of where this program's going to be. And, when we first got here for the first 8 months, that first recruiting class that we had, we were selling them on a vision, and now it's starting to come real, and they're starting to see it, and they're starting to see the guys that are in this program. And, as soon as one domino falls, the next one's like, hey, I want to be a part of this. And then, the next one and so on. So I think it's just continuing to believe in our core values of hustle, effort, and attitude, and keep attacking it like we have been. And we've done a great job of getting everybody that we need around these guys when they're on their visits. And we have a lot of resources and a lot of people that are willing to do whatever it takes to help us show these kids what it truly means to be a Badger, and what it means that, they're going to have one heck of a student athlete experience when they're here.
Looking back, so you're starting year 2. So you started in, was it March or April that you guys actually were both there?
Yep, we got here in April.
So you guys have had 18 months now in Madison. How would you review your first year? Let's kind of look at that, what's your honest reflection of year 1?
The honest, I don't think we did anything really. I mean, we got a lot of buzz, but we did a couple of special things. We had a couple All-Americans and a freshman, Trent Hilger, who's an absolute monster, and he's going to have an excellent year this year. We had Evan Wick, who was an All-American again, and we had a couple bubble guys. So nothing too crazy to write home about, but I truly believe that this is going to be a one heck of a year for us, and we're getting it gassed up, ready to go. We're about 31 days away from go time out in San Diego, and so a grading report, I don't even know, a C maybe, C, D, I'm not sure. We haven't done a whole lot. We've only been here for one season, and our expectations, we want to be getting a trophy every year. That's our goal, and that's our mindset. So you kind of grade it next to that, and we were pretty far when you're sitting at 2021 in the country.
Oh, geez, mate, you're a little bit more harsh than I would be, I think. Geez, I was just kind of, obviously you gotta come in, and you're not starting from scratch, but you got to build something up. But I appreciate. I mean, that just kind of speaks to the kind of person you are. I guess that you're reflecting on what you see. You obviously know the potential, so I think you guys are obviously close. That's just kind of my opinion. And you've obviously got some different changes from last year's lineup to this year's lineup, right? You brought in, I mean, a couple guys have come in through transfer, right? So you got Seth Gross is obviously
we got a
the
couple
big name.
transfers. We got Seth Gross, Johnny Sebastian's from Northwestern, Taylor Watkins from Missouri, and there's a couple scattered around there. Obviously, you got Tristan Moran, who's an ex-Oklahoma State guy, and that's about it, I believe.
So
as far as transfers,
what's it like to be reunited with Seth then? Because I know last year obviously was a year apart for you guys.
Yeah, you know what? It's refreshing, right? He's our guy. He's been our guy since day one, and we love him to death. And he's family to us, and we couldn't be more happy to have him here. He's elevated the room instantly when he's been in here, and his goals and his just the way he treats people has elevated these guys, and it's motivating, and it's inspiring for our guys to be around him. And you've seen it. He's had a drastic change in just the level of intensity in the room with each and every guy. So. Sure, man. We are fired up to have him back in the room.
And then Johnny Sebastian's an interesting one. It seems like he's kind of, I mean, he's fought a lot of injuries, but he's kind of got a little bit of a unique story where, I mean, he's just had a lot of things going wrong for him to where he probably expected to be where he's at now is not where he was thinking in high school. He's this big recruit, and he's had his career derailed. So how did you guys, get him into Wisconsin? I'm kind of interested on that story.
I'll tell you what, we got to know Johnny through obviously the portal. I saw Johnny, and I've got to watch Johnny a little bit over the years, and I've built a great relationship with his high school coach, Coach Bell out there at Bergen Catholic in New Jersey, and so I had a previous relationship with his coach, and the second that he entered that portal and we were able to talk to him, we jumped all over Johnny, and I can't tell you enough about how much we love Johnny and just the type of person he is. He's everything we want in this program, and he's a great representative of this university, and I can't say enough about just how great he is. He's the type of guy, if the President of the United States walked in here, you want him to meet him. He's that type of guy. He's a great person. He's been plagued with a couple injuries, but I haven't seen him more motivated and inspired to train and healthy than he's ever been right now.
We've seen that high-end potential, obviously, from his high school days. And like I said, he's just kind of been derailed a little bit in that if he can just put it all together, I think everyone knows he's a great talent. So I'm really interested to see what you guys can do. Obviously, as a little bit of a bigger guy, he's somebody that'll be right in your wheelhouse to kind of maybe mold a little bit. So I think we're all really interested to see on how that comes out because, he's came out with all the potential in the world, just hasn't been able to quite hit it where he needs to be. So that's one big name we're looking forward to. Another thing I wanted to kind of ask about, it's a little bit older news, but, it was the Eli Stickley. Obviously, he tragic loss for him in your program and his family. But you guys did something really cool when the University of Iowa came up. Can you talk a little bit about what Eli, getting to be a part of that experience, I guess, and honoring him?
Yeah, absolutely. So Eli obviously was an unbelievable person in the short amount of time that we were around Eli, the impact he made on not only a new coaching staff, but just the people that he was around. And it was very evident after his situation and his death that, the amount of people he impacted was unbelievable. And you really saw that when people were gathering together, and he was a special individual, and he'll forever be missed, and he'll forever be a part of this program, and we miss him dearly. And he had a massive impact on this program, and it was unbelievable to be able to share that moment with the University of Iowa and people that he's impacted on that university. His sister, his brother-in-law, and it was a special moment. I'm glad that it worked out, and his family was able to experience that, right here in the field house.
And now we'll kind of look a little bit forward to next season. Obviously, you guys kick off Battle of the Midway, three-team duel, or you'll duel three teams, I should say.
Yep, we duel three teams. We got Fresno State, Navy, and Army out there on the Midway, November 1st.
Is that like the very first? That's the first day of competition. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the first day of competition, and then that's out in San Diego. It's going to be great. We wrestle Navy up on the battleship, and actually that morning we're wrestling Fresno State and Army on a pier. So I'm not real sure how that's going to work out, but we'll be battling elements probably, I'm sure.
A little bit, probably a little. So with that being so early in the season, I mean, sometimes you see a program will go to an early season open to kind of figure out their lineup, but with that being the very first competition, you kind of don't have the open to kind of sort a few things out. So are you guys feeling pretty good about your lineup? You know,
absolutely, we're feeling great about it. But one great thing that Coach Bono has done with our program, and something that we try to do at least once a year, is we're trying to give these guys a student athlete experience, and to wrestle up on the Midway ship on a battleship, man. You're going to talk about that for the rest of your life, right? You wrestled an actual college dual meet on top of a battleship. That's pretty cool. So we're trying to do that at least once a year for these guys, and it just so happened that it worked out. And Coach Ward out there at Army was great, and he's done a great job of helping put this together. And everybody out there in California are fired up about these teams coming out there and wrestling up on that Midway.
So you saw where your program was a year ago, and you're looking forward to this year. So what are the steps you guys are looking to take as you head into season 2 with this program?
Yeah, I think not that last year was a complete failure. I just think that I know our expectations, and when you grade it up against where our future goals are, that's just kind of a honest reflection. And the steps that we're going to take to continue to get to that goal is we're going to stay consistent. We're going to like I said, we're going to attack each one of these dual meets, and we're going to continue to recruit to our best of our ability, and things that are starting to fall the way we need them to fall in that department. And so the future is very bright for this program, and we couldn't be more excited.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I know one thing I'm really looking forward to this season for you guys is there's a December 1st duel, and it's taking place in Iowa City, which means you guys will be right in my backyard.
Yeah, we wrestle
backyard.
Yeah, we wrestle Iowa at Iowa on December 1st, and actually we're wrestling Northern Iowa. We put together a 4-year contract with Northern Iowa, a home and away. We're wrestling those guys in February, I believe. February 20th at home here in the field house. So we're excited. Coach Schwab's done a great job, and we're excited to partner up with them for the next 4 years.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that was I just had Randy Pugh on the podcast, and I thought that was something that, I really liked it how before the Big 12 brought in UNI and South Dakota State, obviously UNI went to the MAC for a couple years, so I think South Dakota State and UNI used to be in the same conference at Western Regional, and then they got kind of pulled back with the Big 12 merger. So one of the things I did like when you guys were at South Dakota State and they were in the MAC, you still kind of made it, you still faced each other, and it was kind of always something really cool to see. And then you go to Wisconsin, you kind of continue that tradition of facing each other, that from the perspective of you and Chris dueling Doug is more than obviously South Dakota State. So that was something I was really excited to see, and I'm really excited to have you in my backyard, because that means I'm going to see you guys in person, if not in October for our Night of Conflict event, which we just announced.
Yeah, you bet we'll be there.
One other thing, I wanted to put you on the spot because you are a big mindset guy.
That's right.
You're pretty vocal on social media with it. I just wanted to know, do you have any nuggets of wisdom for us today?
You know what? Not off the top of my head. You got me thinking about wrestling right now. Nothing. Not too much other than we just got out of practice, and I think one thing that we've been preaching to our guys is just consistency. We've got to attack this. We got to attack the season. Every single day has got to be a consistent level of intensity, and that's what we're trying to approach. And I think that if you carry that into your everyday life, a consistency is the key to success. So take that for some gold nuggets right there.
Boom. Wisdom of Jon Reader. Hey man, we appreciate you coming on the podcast today. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. I know our fans, they're big supporters of Chris Bono, Jonathan Reader, what they're doing, wherever they are. So appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, you bet. And I look forward to seeing you guys at Night of Conflict.
That's October 19th. That'll be in Waterloo. So IA Wrestle fans, if you haven't already bought tickets, take the opportunity to do so. There's going to be quite a few Iowa high school matches to check out. So hopefully fans will show up at the 5 Sullivan Brothers Center there in Waterloo. Check it out. There's more details on iawrestle.com.